You are listening to The Material Revolution, a podcast dedicated to building a better understanding of and relationship to textiles, fibers, and resources. I am your host, Catherine Susi, and I'm sitting down with artists, designers, educators, scientists, and creative thinkers from around the globe about their specialized knowledge and experience in working with fibers, processes, techniques, and technologies with the intention to create awareness, inspire knowledge, address responsible practices, encourage creativity, and to build a material community. So I welcome you to tune in and listen to those who are contributing towards change and a material revolution. Before we dive into today's interview and content, you can find us at www.thematerialrevolution.com. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Material Revolution. And to view some of our video interviews, hop on over to our YouTube channel. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of The Material Revolution. For those of you that have been listening to this podcast so far, you will know that I have had several conversations around creative use and reuse or upcycling. And not just because it's a method that is near and dear to my own research and practice, but I do believe that there are significant different approaches around upcycling that requires more conversations because of its universa-tility. And I know that I just made that word up. I guess what I was trying to say is universality. But and this is because with upcycling, there are unlimited possibilities. You not only have the opportunity to creatively problem solve from a non-linear manner, but you also have the ability to take what's from the non-linear and position it into a linear system, a system that can be not only actionable, but adaptable and can be fully realized both on a small scale and a large scale. And it's with my conversation with Estonia-based designer, educator, and activist Reet Aus that we are able to have a conversation about how important the method of upcycling is and her instrumental role in identifying how upcycling can be used in the field of fashion design and how she managed to take practice-led research that began in her earlier design studies, which she further developed in her PhD research and dissertation From Trash to Trend. And it was when I discovered her thesis about a decade ago, it contextualized the possibilities of what can be done with upcycling in a way that can exist beyond just the field of fashion. Reet has been able to apply her method of upcycling to other fields in design, costume and theater design, interior design. Now she's been able to take the key ingredients that exist in the methods that she's developed and has been able to further transform her knowledge of upcycling and distill it into a new certification process that not only supports what she's cultivated in her own research and practice, but it's also enabling other industry partners to follow in her own footsteps. And our conversation captures what is possible, what was believed to be the impossible, into what is possible, in taking upcycling to a whole other level. And it's because of Reet's research and practice that she's been able to amplify and cultivate the necessary relationships and a community where everyone benefits. And it's a holistic and realistic approach to how and where we can apply the knowledge that's cultivated through the act and use of upcycling and where it can be further developed. And in my conversation with Reet, we address some of the necessary components of what drives her research and practice and what motivates her to continue to perform research through the method of upcycling and how it is continuing to drive the necessary change and solutions that we need in order to really make the changes that we need to see in this world. As previously mentioned, Reet is a PhD qualified fashion designer, researcher, and environmental activist. She founded Reet Aus collections and the UPSHIRT, which I highly recommend looking up on her website at www.reetaus.com. That's REETAUS.com. It's through her ongoing research and developments, and with her identifying where there were significant gaps in the existing fashion system that wasn't addressing textile waste in our environment, that she was naturally able to rebel from this linear existing system and be able to pioneer an industrial upcycling method that can be used in fashion. And it's from this that she's been able to also develop the UPMADE certification, which is the first certification of its kind that supports upcycling. And it's through her knowledge and experience in being able to develop an industrial method for upcycling that she is now wanting to pass that knowledge on to other brands and other factories. And it's through Reet's guiding mission in life to motivate and make the changes that are necessary in the fashion industry, and to be able to show that there is a way of ending throwaway culture, because there is so much waste in our environment. It's really important to reach to find ways to reduce the environmental footprint of an industry that she is deeply passionate about and loves. Reet believes that change is possible, and I do too. And it's because of Reet's passion and love for an industry that she wants to see the necessary changes implemented. And it's through her story that she completely embodies. She definitely practices what she preaches, both in life and as a practitioner in the industry. And it's because of her story that she's a natural inspiration to everyone. And there's complete truth to that. And so without further ado, I ask you now to settle in, grab your favorite cup of tea, and sit down for the next hour to allow for yourself to be immersed in a conversation that discusses the importance of the method of upcycling and perhaps how we can imagine it in all aspects of our lives.
Hello, my name is Reet Aus. I'm a sustainable fashion designer. I'm living and working in Estonia, in Tallinn, and my research has been mostly focusing to the waste in the fashion and textiles. And I have done my PhD about upcycling, which is my research and my favorite topic. So how to bring the environmental impact down in the fashion industry through design. So using design as a tool.
Well, thank you, Reet, so much for taking the time to speak with me today, because I've been following your research and practice for about a decade now, because I think I was at the tail end of my graduate studies when I came across your PhD dissertation, because at the time there was very little, even from a North American perspective, very little examples of research that was addressing textile waste using upcycling as a method. And from an academic standpoint, there was a little bit that I could cherry pick from, but the way that you situated and wrote from a very specific geographical, but also addressing very necessary components that I believe are very key ingredients into how we need to consider upcycling as a design method and methodology for the sustainable solutions that we need to create more of a balance in the world of not just fashion and textiles, but a more holistic approach into how we can find the necessary solutions to create that balance that's needed, I think, as a whole, both in our life and in our work. And I want to say that your research and practice, because you come from this practice-led research, that you've been able to situate your research and practice in a way that has allowed for things to be actionable, adaptable, and is clearly evolving in a necessary way that's given life to so many different projects and that have been realized as a result of the numerous relationships and collaborations that you've cultivated as a result of being able to take the method of upcycling and apply it to various different areas within the field of design and beyond. And so there's so many things that I know that we can talk about because you've been highly prolific, and I can tell that you're deeply passionate about it. There's no question, because you practice what you preach. There's no question. And as I got to read more about what you've done, it's like music to my ears, but it's so fulfilling on a, I want to say on a heart level, because it's nice to know that there are people that are considering this not just at a surface level. It's so much more than that. I know that for you. And so I think before we get into some of the projects that you've realized, such as UPSHIRT and UPMADE and some of the other things that you're putting into practice right now, I guess for our audience, for you to perhaps introduce a little bit about your background and let us know who Reet Aus is.
Yeah, thank you. Really lovely introduction. Of course, my background is quite interesting because I'm coming from the post-Soviet, I'm living in the post-Soviet country, Estonia, and but having very, very strong history before Soviet times, and also coming from the very, very artistic family, many generations of artists.
Mm-hmm.
I think my childhood and my youth has been in very, very interesting. If you put everything together, what we had here in the 90s, 80s, 90s, and then in the new century, it's extremely interesting time. And of course, when we got back our freedom, then Estonia has been developing so fast, incredibly fast. Right now, you can't even understand the difference between Estonia and Finland, or Estonia and UK, or like etc. In so many areas, we are actually even somewhere far away. Like if we take IT and our like digital development, etc. But as it happened so fast, and our society is so small, and then everything is very close, and you can adapt things really, really fast, much faster than the older and older and bigger society.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the nature of the young society, that a lot of interesting ideas come up, and then if you have the practical mind, you just can really go and test them out. And this is something, if you grow up like this, really like immediately testing things. And I'm a very practical person. That's why I'm in the design-led research, because I kind of need to understand, does that work in the real life or not? And I of course, I can have like million ideas, completely crazy ideas, but if I can't really put them into life, then they are just ideas. That's why I like design so much, and that's why I like practice-led research, because really there is a gap between academic knowledge and the real life and the business. Mm-hmm. So it has been a very long time that way. It's very, very, very difficult to bring them together, because the research and academia is very slow. Processes are very slow, and if you go to the business side, and it has to be fast. You have to take all the decisions like this, and you have to move on very fast. And I think that's something what I learned really when I was young in the 90s, because you had to do everything very fast, because everything was changing so fast. So I think this is kind of a little bit the background, but I think when we're talking about the upcycling, then that really goes back to my childhood, and goes back to my grandfather, who was a sculpturist and was really, really lovely person. I spent a lot of time with him, and he didn't throw anything away. He actually used all the scraps and everything to fill the sculptures. So really, or we collected the shoes to send to Africa to the kids or whatever. But it's a little bit this kind of, and also in the Soviet time, everybody were poor. It was not that way, that some people were rich and some other were poor. Like There was nothing in that time. You had to make everything by yourself. I was 12 years old when I started actually to make my own clothes. My mother taught me how to sew. So this is something what I grew up with, and I think it could go like two ways. Is that you take that as your heritage, like your like cultural sustainability, that you live with that, or you don't want to know it and you just go to this kind of fully consuming capitalistic kind of world. What happened in Estonia a lot. And you can see a little bit like we are still this kind of early capitalistic country where people would like to consume a lot. But some people actually really do remember what it used to be when you had to live this kind of environmentally, let's say, quite sustainable life. When we are talking about circularity, because you had to use your grandmother's clothes, your mother's clothes, it went that way because there was nothing else to do. That was the way. But I think there's something very interesting in that. I think it's part of our culture, and not only a lot of countries actually has that. And this is something very interesting. How to bring that knowledge to the time where we're living right now, in this really like mass production, globalization, too much waste, clothes doesn't have any value, etc., etc., etc. To put these two together and actually to understand how they could complement each other. And that's I think that's very interesting, and definitely my background or where I'm coming from gives quite strong
Well, it's giving you that definitive strong foundation. It's not like you pulled something out of thin air as a result of trying to create a solution. Like it was an existing system, let's say, that was just part of, I don't want to say survivalistic, but it was naturally embedded as part of the cultural history. And sometimes I find some of the best solutions are something that already exists, but we don't see it until we kind of zoom out or have a different perspective that allows for us to kind of breathe new life into something that was perhaps, I don't want to say it's undervalued. I mean, in certain cultures, definitely, but it's just taking that and just tilting it ever so slightly so that it can be viewed and appreciated and put into practice in a very different way. I wonder, just to pull a thread out of what you were just describing, in your own words, how would you best describe upcycling?
Upcycling is something where you take the material, how it is, and just through design, give the new value for it. It's the most efficient way to reduce waste, actually.
Fantastic. That's probably the most succinct description that anyone's ever been able to give me. So it's kind of nice because, everybody kind of they pull from different things, but because it is something that you know so intimately on so many levels. And from what I've read about you too, it's how you're transforming it and making it completely adaptable into these different systems that's allowing for upcycling to be experienced and utilized in a very, very much different way, which I'll get to in a minute, because I do have some questions about some of the projects that you've been able to realize as a result of that. And so, I want to say that, again, in having observed your work over the past decade, what you've been able to contextualize in and around the method of upcycling, not just in the field of fashion and manufacturing, but also in the field of theater and costume design. And although they are very much interrelated, I know I'm preaching to the converted here in that regard, but they are very two different systems. And in reading and actually rereading your thesis, I was reminded like how you situated your research specifically within the theater domain, because it gave you that environment to really cultivate and situate what was needed so that you could take and apply what you've done in other areas, very much so. And so because of that, and understanding that collaboration is very much a significant part of your research, not just within the relationships that you've cultivated and the creative collaborations that you've had, but also in how you've developed industry partnerships. I wonder if we could just touch upon UPSHIRT, because I know there's so many different collaborations that you've done, but just to kind of have a discussion about that. And I know there's been a slight evolution to where that is right now. And so I wonder if you could describe to our audience what UPSHIRT is?
Yes, UPSHIRT is actually, it's a funny story. After the doctoral studies, the main question was how to take this knowledge into the industrial level, like really to the big scale. And we were actually making one documentary with Jaak Ilmi, and we were shooting in Bangladesh, and we ended up in one factory, Beximco, like very, very big one, like really 40,000 people working like mass production, like biggest I have ever seen. And we just wanted to shoot there how pair of jeans are made. But the CEO of the company was very interested about my research, and we started to talk, and he was really impressed. And then finally, when we kind of ended up that, okay, let's take their company as the test base to try to put the upcycling into the industrial level, because I understood that actually it was never made before that way. I was so strongly surprised. But then I was in that field like around 10-15 years trying to understand how to do it. But in Europe, we have only small companies, but how to do it really in the mass production. I had no intention to start the collection again. I was really just into the research.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so funny. I thought that I'm done with fashion in this meeting, like.
Yeah.
And we started to test the different ways how to circle the waste back to the production line. And the first thing what we did was the waste analysis to understand what type of waste exactly they have, how much, in what, because they are very good company for the research, because they also make fabric in-house. So they basically have everything. They bring in the raw material, the raw cotton, for example, they make the fabric, they do post-production, everything. And a surprise what we had, and also the company had, when we finally put together the numbers, basically they were losing so much money because they had to throw away really very good material, because the roll lens, it's really big amount. And the research showed actually us that up to 34% stays there as a waste. And if you think it's huge amount.
That's significant.
Yes. And then we started to actually test how we could bring all these like waste, let's say leftover materials, back to the production. And we were testing with different categories, like the roll lens and the cutting leftovers and overproduced items, etc. And the UPSHIRT, the shirt with the arrow, ended actually the way that we had some cutting leftovers around 30 centimeters. So I had to find a design where we could use most efficiently the parts. And as the upcycling means that basically the value of the material grows during the process, then that's how the UPSHIRT was born. And it's very funny, the tests what we were running in that time, we ended up actually having kind of the collection on our hands. And then I thought, okay, let's just go to show it in the Berlin Fashion Week, and let's see if people like it, or if we get some orders, then we can start experiment further. And it turned out quite successful. And I remember so well, I was thinking, okay, the UPSHIRT, the shirt with the arrow, the production cost was like, it was so high, and nobody will buy the t-shirt with 45 euros. It's nonsense. We are selling now, I don't 7-8 years, and people still like it, and they still want it.
Which is amazing. I mean, I will say on a personal level, I've been eyeing for quite some time, so it's on my list of things to get this year. I do get your newsletters, but I actually was going to ask this question a little bit later down the line. Has there been a particular material or garment that has such an impact, like let's say an archetype of a garment even, that has motivated you or had an impact on you in some way that's made you want to change the context? Because I mean, for example, you've, to me, with UPSHIRT, have changed the relationship into how a t-shirt can be made, for example. So has there been a material or a garment silhouette that's had an impact on you?
For me, that actually has been denim. I really didn't wear jeans before. I even don't know why. I think it's because I know it's the denim is something with very, very high environmental cost because of the cotton and because of the water. But upcycled jeans, I mean, I wear them all the time. And then I was able to design the actually trousers what fit perfectly. And this is really something like it's completely different for me. I mostly wear jeans now just because they are upcycled and they fit well. And that's the thing with the cotton. We think it's a good material, but from the environmental point of view, it's actually very bad material. But the beauty of it is that you actually can recycle it later on or upcycle. Like denim jeans is you can really remake them. You can, because we now the one very nice thing what we do here locally in our shop, we actually, people can bring their own jeans, we kind of fix them, and that's also like this kind of local small upcycling thing what we do, just to keep the jeans a little bit longer, like that the people will keep them a little bit longer, they don't throw them away so easily. It's I think it's actually very, very nice thing, and people could do that by themselves. But yes, denim is tricky, but in the same time, I would say the everything oil-based is trickier.
Very much so. And I do believe when I was looking at your website, are you making rugs out of some of the denim as well? Did I see that correctly?
Yes, this is very nice project what we have been doing, and funnily enough, this product is very popular in Japan, not in Estonia, but Japan loves it. This is something we started very nice cooperation with very nice ladies here in Estonia. Like they have small company, they started the weaving just themselves, etc. And we designed few like design rugs, and they are really 100% made from the post-consumer denim, but they look nice. I really like them.
Yeah, they're quite beautiful.
It's very expensive to do it that way. The prices.
Yes,
but so many working hours goes in. But it's
very much so, because they're hand loomed, are they not?
Yeah. And you have to cut the trousers. So if you calculate the hours what goes in, then it's
well, they're heirloom pieces when it comes to considering the amount of labor and how long something like that's going to last. Those are things that you would like to be able to pass on to other people. It's not something that you're going to just use only for a short time period. You know, they're meaningful pieces, right?
Yes. Yeah, of course, yeah. And they're very beautiful, so well done. I mean, the quality is beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to see it in person. But to my knowledge, Aus design is just one example of where you practice, upcycling as a method. And because of the evolution in what I've observed and how you've been able to expand upon it conceptually as well as physically, it's been a natural transition in how you are taking what you've done in practice and have gone on to establish what is UPMADE. So I wonder if you can share what UPMADE is and what it's doing differently.
UPMADE, also quite funny story how UPMADE was born. It was when we were testing the upcycling in Peksimco. We ended up opening our own upcycling line because that was the most effective way how to implement it to the big factory. So that we had our own cutting people, our own people working online, all our own team. And then I started to look around if I could find some certification scheme who could certify our line. Just really to validate it and just to be sure that if I'm not there, or like if somebody would like to buy items produced in that line, I could be 100% sure that it's done in the right way. And then came out that there was nothing like this, couldn't find. And then we started to cooperate with the Stockholm Environmental Institute, Estonian office, Tallinn office, to actually create the certification scheme for the upcycling. That was how UPMADE actually started, that we made the proper, it was quite long process and not the most creative one, to be honest. A lot of paperwork, a lot of criteria, how to build it up, because we were planning to create it the way that it's really solid and it really resonates with other certifications, and it would be really adaptable to every factory in the world, like really following all the standards and all the criteria.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yes, in this meaning, quite, yeah. But it was in the same time, it going through that process, it actually brought so much transparency and understanding how to do it even better way. And yes, we call it UPMADE system. And the UPMADE system has the three aspects: it's the design, the certification, and the software. What actually helps, and the software does two important things to understand why upcycling is important. One is the waste analysis, and then environmental calculation for the upcycled product, and also you can calculate the environmental impact for the virgin product as well. So yes, and finally we were able to finalize it. We certified the first line, and after that we have been certifying like 4 or 5 factories. But last year and a half, of course, we have the line, but we haven't been able to certify because of the situation.
Right.
The preparation done, and now again India went lockdown. We were hoping to start working with few factories in India, and situation is really not good. That makes me really sad what's going on right now.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah,
that's the only way I can describe just it's hard to articulate, but it's just beyond heartbreaking.
Yeah, that's true. And you see the news, they say 10, but the reality is 100. So it's probably even we can't understand what the situation really is there. And Bangladesh is just next to India, and even more, a little bit more complicated society. Mm-hmm. Last year it was just they even didn't say anything. They just closed everything down one day, and nobody knows what's going to happen next. Let's see how it goes this time.
Yes. I did read that you were potentially collaborating or building partnerships with someone or companies in the United States. And is that something that's still in the works?
Not right now anymore. We had I can't say the names.
No, I completely understand that. Yeah.
Quite big, even 2-3 quite big corporations in US. We started cooperating with them, but everything is on hold right now.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah. I find it really fascinating that you've been able to take what some people view, I'd say, upcycling as not scalable, and you've completely been able to make it scalable. And as a result, created this certification process that not just a design system, but the software that comes along with it that, again, makes things actionable, adaptable, and universal.
Yes, and especially I think in that industry, it's very interesting what's going to happen in the next year. Who will be able to survive properly? And I think a lot of companies are really changing the business model as well. And even the big ones, they really kind of really think things over and try to find how to implement the circularity. And that what happened like a year ago, like all the supply chain basically like stopped. I mean, then I think a lot of companies understood how unsafe actually it is to have the not like non-transparent supply chain, that you don't actually have a control over your supply chain. I think this is one thing what definitely is changing, and I can see even here in the Europe where the production is really tiny, it's a little bit even coming back here.
Mm-hmm. I wondered about that, especially are there still a significant amount of, I want to say, artisan or skilled craftspeople? Obviously, I know that you're working with women that are weaving your rugs, but because I know in pockets, let's say in North America, because of offshoring and offshore production started happening in the 1980s, there isn't the skilled workforce. They're trying to do reshoring in different ways, but is there still a significant amount of skilled labor that exists in Estonia that can help?
Not anymore. That's the thing, of course not, because it's you can't afford that. It's
very, very true. And I know that's a whole other set of questions that I could go down in that road, but to keep on track, I read that you have an interest in permaculture. I think there was a quote that I read. It was you saying that obviously nature's the best example of being a designer. And so I wonder if you could speak a little bit more about this, because I'm curious if there is a specific aspect about permaculture or a certain system within permaculture that has come to impact your design process.
Completely. Circularity, how nature works, because I was studying permaculture years ago, and for me, this is more like really the design system or design methods, because in permaculture, you really you have to understand how nature works, and good design, I think, is very, very similar to do it. You just you never can't go in with just with your power. You have to understand how things work, and then you have to very smartly adapt good ideas into existing system. And the main idea is always the circularity, that there is no waste. In nature, we don't have waste. And that's basically very simple knowledge. Just every designer should remember how to design the product, what very smartly grows out naturally from the nature and goes back there later on, because that's how nature works, and we are part of that system. And yes, the permaculture is very inspirational. That's my little dream for probably one day when I'm a little bit older and I can move completely to the countryside, then the permaculture farm is kind of waiting me. So that's just to test the idea, the design idea, really in the small scale, to build up the really sustainable and independent system with the permacultural tools and ideas and understandings. But I think that's how design should be.
Fantastic. Beautifully said.
Thank you.
And also pulling a thread from that, because the term sustainability has become problematic, not just because of greenwashing and the different perceptions that people have of what it means. And I know what it means for you, and I understand what it means in a holistic way. And as I've already identified, you very much practice what you preach in and around that. So I guess for our audience, what is sustainability? What does it represent to you? What does it actually mean to you?
Very simply said, it really means that everything what you do is you don't hurt other people, you don't hurt nature, and everything is able to kind of circle back. That's exactly the same what I was explaining before. For me, the main question is how and in what moment sustainability became the niche, or like something which is like different, or something what is like small. I think our world should be built up that way, and that everything what is not sustainable should be the niche or something done wrong. Because I think it's very good. The milestone is the day when we have consumed all the resources, what we have for 1 year. It's usually somewhere like middle August. But in Estonia, which is tiny, tiny country, but because of the way how we produce our energy, for us that day, where we have consumed already all year's resources, this year it came the middle of March. And every day from that, we are basically we are taking from others, from our kids, from the future, basically. And it's so black and white. There is even, it's the easiest math ever. It's not sustainable. Somebody somewhere has to pay, and that's exactly what comes with the products we consume every day. That's what comes with, because it doesn't exist. It's a law of physics. There is always action and the reward, or how you say it. It's someone has to pay.
Truth.
No free lunches.
It's so very true. And I really appreciate you bringing just there's an authenticity, because you definitely live, breathe, eat, sleep it on every levels. And there's a consideration, and the issue right now, I just find there's such a plague around a lot of the language, along a lot of the lexicon that's been established, that's meant to help promote the necessary changes that we need, and it's just been hijacked. And so with this podcast, I'm trying to get rid of some of those misconceptions and just a lot of the knowledge gaps that have been created as a result of either people not wanting people to know, dumbing it down, or just hijacking it for marketing purposes. I wonder, and again, this is a question I usually save for a little bit later, what knowledge gap or misconception do you think exists around upcycling as a practice?
the main problem is a lot of things people actually don't understand what's the difference between upcycling and recycling, but understandable. And a lot of people really even don't have the clue what recycling is, to be quite clear. The main problem with upcycling is that a lot of people think that it's somehow related to waste and it's not good quality. And it really, for me, it has taken a long time to explain that actually it's not waste. It's basically completely new material. It's just leftover material from the peak production. And if people see the products and if they actually see if the design is good, if the quality is good, it's exactly the same. And I think this is now we are kind of getting to the other side that people are able to trust, because upcycling is something, the concept is so simple. I really, really can't understand why we haven't been implementing it earlier. As for me, this is just, I still sometimes think how this is even possible, why we haven't done it yet. It's so simple. You don't have to make big investment. The design about just really little, you have to just reorganize a little bit.
Completely. And I mean, this brings us to my next question, because I mean, I've been involved in educating. I'm on a bit of a break now, but educating for the last 15 years in relation to my own design practice. And so you're only just starting to see upcycling as a method being taught at the higher education level. And it's not even in every design institution, which I've thought has been problematic. I wonder, like, where do you see it evolving? I mean, I've had several conversations here on this podcast around how it needs to be implemented much earlier in the education system. So I just wonder what your thoughts are on it as a method and where you would like to see it evolve at the educational level.
Definitely in design education, it should be implemented in the early stage, also in the BA level. This is something what we are doing in Estonian Academy of Arts. We are basically taking all the curricula and putting it back together to see that we really cover all the topics of sustainability in the design education from the first year, because it's very difficult to implement upcycling when you already have everything like settled down the way how it is. Then because you have to take it all open again. You have to understand the concept when you start to build up your collection or your company or your, I don't know, the product line. Mm-hmm. It should be there from the beginning, because it's actually, it should be the part of the design thinking, and then it will go directly to the place where it should be. Then it's the easiest. The other way around, of course, it's possible, it's doable, but it's more complicated. And that's what I have seen with the big companies. They like the idea. They actually they really would like to do that. They would like to use their leftovers because they pay for that. It's good for them as well. Everybody would win. But they understand it's, especially in the fast fashion companies, it's so difficult because all the departments are separately, and designers don't know what happens in the production, etc. It's very complicated to come from the production back, like all these steps to the designer and start to explain it. And also it's very fast. All the cycle is so fast. That's why it has to be there, that already in the beginning, they could get the information really fast from the production, how much leftover they have. They could design the new products into the next production phase.
And I wonder what your thoughts are about implementing upcycling or creative use and reuse at an even earlier stage, like with children, for example. And I'm not sure how it works in Estonia, what the type of creative curriculum there is, and how if that's been implemented. I know there's been so many changes and cuts here in the UK, and in particular in Canada and the US, even the basic knowledge of knowing how to sew, for example. And so I just wondered what your brief thoughts are on perhaps developing a program or curriculum that allows for the younger generation to have access to some of this knowledge so that it prepares them for a lifelong experience with upcycling.
Yeah, I think with younger kids, we don't have it here in curricula. No, not at all. But sometimes I go to talk to the schools, and more or less I know what they are studying there. But I think the supply chain is something what actually one kid should understand, what supply chain means. Like if they have some products, like when the mother or the parents bring home some very nice product they have been kind of dreaming last 2 weeks, they would understand what it actually means. Where it comes from, where the plastic comes from, how it's made, where it's made, what's in it. Like this very simple LCA exercises, completely okay to do already in the kindergarten, I think. Just that when they start to take the products, like they start to separate, and they have to understand what's in it, how it's put together, and what impact actually it has. Very holistic exercise. They learn geography, materials, different design skills, everything. You can put so many things together into this one small exercise.
And I think for our audience that don't know what LCA means, it's life cycle assessment.
Yes, yes.
I know that we're getting close to the end here, and I know you're very busy, but I wonder if you can tell me, is there anything about the act of upcycling that continues to surprise you in some way?
Oh yeah, it's always like you start from the beginning again when you have the new material or the new question to ask or the new factory. Even the processes are always the same, then the setups are a little bit different always. So it is like starting all over again and all over again. But that's the beauty of it. And also, even if, because we are the slow fashion brand, for example, when we're talking about our brand, then we have like some designs we have been running many years, but it's never the same because materials always changing, and the same design could look so different from the different materials. Sometimes you put jersey and woven together, the other time you just, but it's very playful and very creative, and I really love that.
Is that what keeps you being curious?
This, and also really to understand how to make this big industry change in the way that it really, because I'm 100% sure it's possible. Because when we started with our research in Bangladesh with the big factory, I had no idea is it possible or not. I was like, okay, let's just try it. Wonderful opportunity. Let's just try it. And it was so interesting. Like few years we did one test, okay, coming closer, one test, coming closer. Again, one month in living in the factory and working and understanding. And finally, after all the calculations of everything, I understood this is actually completely, you can do it, it's possible. After that, I understood it's actually easier than we think it is, because we have all the knowledge how to make this industry sustainable. We know what's good, what's bad. We know what materials are better, what's are worse, what we should actually avoid. We know about circularity. We know, for example, viscose is endlessly the good viscose is endlessly recyclable. It would be so easy actually to go even waste free in that industry. We can do the seamless knits with no waste at all, etc., etc., etc. We know how to do it. In some way, in our small brand, we actually have done it. And I'm very curious when it happens, when it goes big, and when everybody does that the way it would. That would be the best change ever, I would say.
No, it's amazing. And I know you recently went label free. And so why now?
Oh, somehow it took really long. I even don't know why. It's there are so many details, and we were testing the different ways really long time. But there is so much information what has to be with the product, and we were testing different ways how to avoid the paper and then the different labels inside the products. And I think the solution, I think it took 1.5 years to test all the different ways we were planning to do it. And I think the final solution that we basically just print all the information on the product is the easiest and the best, because now we have mono products that actually makes the product so much more easy to recycle, because we are taking back our products. If our client doesn't want that anymore, then we take everything back and we see how we can upcycle or recycle them.
And I wonder, is there any particular, I know there's a lot of things that are on pause right now. Are there any particular directions or new areas that you're looking to further develop?
We have been developing actually here in Estonia the local recycling, post-consumer waste recycling quite long, and we have done some tests. And I think the fact that 2025 we have to collect all the textile waste separately and send it to the circulation. We are in the very difficult situation right now because we don't have solutions. We really don't have solutions. And this is something where I think a lot of innovation, and especially material innovation, will kick in very, very soon, because we have to find the materials, but we can really circulate properly. Like I said, for example, viscose is something like this, like the side effect as well when we're talking about the plastic pollution. And we have been working with one Italian company a very long time, and all our knits are made from recycled yarn, made from the post-consumer denim. Mm-hmm. And also we finally found the company in Lithuania who could actually produce us zero waste knits. So this is something the product development we have been doing like many years, and it is really slow, but now the first zero waste knits will be in our shop in the next month, hopefully. It takes time because we don't have so many solutions, and we don't have so many companies who actually understand the nature of it or would invest into it. But Japan is doing really well, especially regarding to the seamless knit. So this is something my eye is on that right now, and that will be the next step to go really. Basically, it's like 3D printing, like close to that, but only recycled, just really using the recycled yarn. So that basically would be really completely possible to, even though we are already using waste, then the waste materials or the leftovers, we would be able to recycle them later on as well, and it continuously could circle that way.
Is there anyone that you think is doing meaningful work that you want to kind of give a shout out to, or just to kind of highlight as somebody that you've already said what you're keeping your finger on the pulse on what's going on with the seamless knitting. That's just one example, but is there any particular person that, or anything that you could, sort of highlight or give some recognition to?
There are so many of them. There's so much very interesting work going on in the textiles, in the fashion right now. Like for example, Aalto University in Finland, they are working with completely sustainable cellulose. This is something I'm really like waiting when they are coming out, because I think they are even able to put post-consumer cotton in. This is something I'm really curious when they come out with when they can go really to the production. It's
interesting you mentioned that, because I have an upcoming guest in June. She was a researcher doing her master's in that department. So we're going to be talking about that in a few weeks.
So. I think that's the future when we're talking about materials. I really think this is the next big thing, is the cellulose-based materials. Also zero waste concept. There are so many of them here in Estonia as well.
So one of my last questions for you is, so what ultimately do you want people to know about your work?
I just want them to understand that the work what we do is actually, it's a solution. And if they would like to be part of the solution, they should really stop buying fast fashion and things like this, and start buying sustainable brands to understand how they make the things. I don't know. For me, it has been all the time that we need to offer the alternative. Otherwise, it's just like complaining. But that's boring. Nobody wants to hear the complaint. If you are not able to do it better, then you can't say anything, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then just be part of the solution, not the problem.
Well said, really. And at the end of every interview that I have here, I always ask each guest to share a meaningful story about a memorable textile or garment. And so I wonder, do you have an example of a textile garment that has had such an impact on you? It could be something from your childhood, something that you found in your travels. Like, what do you have that you could possibly share that you consider very meaningful?
I actually have quite many clothes from my grand aunt. We used to live in US. I have a few costumes from probably 60s and early 70s, Italian brand, Missioni. Yes,
Missoni. Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Yeah. incredibly, very, very beautiful. Then my mother used to wear them. And then when I was around 16, 18, like something like this, my mother gave to me, I still wear them. So basically, like it has been going through 3 generations, and some of them now my daughter is wearing, because I have
Amazing.
to her. So this is for me like the sustainability, I would say, like the really pieces go through 4 generations and they still look good. And let's see, maybe my daughter will have the daughter as well. So you never
Built
know.
to last.
But yes. So I think that's a proof that we actually know how to make very good clothes that will last long.
That's right. Wow. I mean, Reet, it's been an amazing opportunity to speak with you today. I really can't thank you enough. I know that you're very busy by the amount of emails and someone's trying to get a hold of you. And I want to say that I do know another person that's in Estonia. I think she teaches at the Estonia School of Arts. Christy, is it Kuusk?
Yeah, Christy Kuusk.
No, I met her briefly in Vancouver. She was doing some research at Emily Carr, University of Art Design. And so I know I've been following what she's been doing, and I definitely want to come and visit your atelier and see everything in the flesh.
When you come here, let me know.
I will absolutely.
I can give you some tips as well.
Well, again, thank you. I'm not going to keep you any longer today.
Thank you. It was very, very nice to talk with you.
Yes, likewise. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this episode of The Material Revolution. We hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, comments, or perhaps you may want to suggest a topic, material innovation, or an expert that you would like to hear on an upcoming episode, please reach out to us via email at info@thematerialrevolution.com, or you can contact us through any of our social media channels. If you haven't done so already and have enjoyed this episode, please make sure you subscribe to the show via Apple Podcasts or from any platform that you're choosing to listen to this from. We would appreciate it if you could rate, review, and help us spread the word by sharing this podcast with friends. And if you would like to support this podcast further, consider visiting our Patreon page and make a pledge. You can do this by accessing the link that's located in the episode notes of this podcast, or you can visit our website or any of our social media channels where we will have that link made available. Well, that concludes our show for today. We hope that you left this episode feeling more curious about what can be done with textiles. Music for this podcast is provided by Interior Design, composed by Rob Mathrew. If you dig it and you want to hear more, please visit the link included in the show notes or visit our website for more information about his work. You can also find images from today's episode located on our website, www.thematerialrevolution.com, and other show highlights are available on our Instagram, Facebook page, and YouTube channel.